And people always told me, "Oh, you're so funny." And one night I was out with some friends, and we actually had made a bet. I forget exactly how we started. We basically said we were going back and forth, me and another friend, that we should go and do stand-up comedy. And we had made a bet about which Sunday was going to be Super Bowl. And we agreed that whichever one of us was wrong would have to go do stand-up, an open mic night at a comedy club. And as it turns out, we were both wrong because we both actually didn't have a day that was a Sunday. So we were both wrong. So we both had to do open mic. And once I was going to go do it, I remembered I had seen a comic called Crazy Legs Forenska, I believe was his name, a comic from the US who did Just for Laughs. And he had cerebral palsy. And I remember sitting watching his act. I remember there was one joke that he said, every time I'm arguing with my wife, she tells me, "Stop shaking your head at me." And I remember laughing at that, and I thought, okay, what a great way to kind of reach out to people about your disability. And I basically wrote a 5-minute set. And the joke you heard at the beginning about my condition and that it means slightly effed up, I'll censor it for the radio just in case. That was the first joke I ever told. I got a laugh and I was hooked.
That's great. So what basically is that's so that what is basically the inspiration for some of your act?
I think in part it's people's attitudes, people's misconceptions, and a lot of the time it's just stuff that happens in a day-to-day life as I'm going around downtown. And also, to be honest, some of the comedy is actually therapeutic for me. Like if something is frustrating or annoys me, I'm like I remember there was one day I was at Tim Hortons, and it impressively enough had a button on the door, but it wasn't working. So someone opened the door for me. I went in, got a cup of coffee, and as I'm leaving and I go to push the button, the person working there told me, "Oh wait, let me get it for you." It was getting too cold having the door open automatically, so we disconnected the button. And at first I was shocked, and then I was angry, and then I'm like, you know what? That's a really good joke. So then that became part of my routine about why have a button if it's not going to work.
That leads up. Oh, that's a good lead into my next question. What are there any personal experiences you share with your audience?
I think a lot of my routine is personal experiences. As you heard before, clearly I have a lot of material about the government. I always say that I'm probably one of the few people who like getting mail from the government because every time I see the little fleur-de-lis, I'm like, all right, new material, excellent. But I think, actually, I would say 90 to 99, 95% of my routine is just personal experience, people's attitudes about my disability, some of the attitudes, some of the responses I get. It could be someone coming up to me at a shopping center, or experiences I've had with relationships. So I think a lot of my routine really is personal experience.
Okay. How long do you see yourself performing?
I don't see myself stopping performing. I do have plans to do more shows, be it strictly comedy or also getting in more to the motivational speaking side. I've done some work with entrepreneur groups about overcoming challenges. I always like doing the overcoming challenges routine or talks in a place that's not necessarily accessible, because I think that makes the point. Overcoming challenges. Yeah, getting in here was overcoming one challenge. So I don't really see myself stopping at any point.
Okay. Why do you perform?
I perform I mean, there is the aspect of I enjoy it. There certainly is the thrill of connecting with an audience, but also I think in terms of spreading my message, I'm actually now I do have a website called sureican.info, which I'm actually redesigning, and it's going to be changed to michaellifshitz.com, and simply use the slogan of "Sure I Can and You Can Too," which the "Sure I Can" part is the part about addressing people's misconceptions about disabilities. And I think, unfortunately, there's still a lot of misconceptions out there about people with disabilities. So there's that aspect of it, and the "and you can too" part is really, in for lack of a better word, inspiring people to overcome their own challenges.
Okay. Is is there any link between your life as a businessman and your life as a comedian?
There is actually, because in the financial planning that I do, one of the projects I work on is financial planning for parents of children with disabilities. And when I say the term children, I use that very loosely because sometimes it is an adult child. Just because I think, from the point of view of encouraging parents, that the basic goal of the project is to try and help the parents get to the point where financial resources will not be what limits their child's quality of life. And the slogan for the project is actually "Disabilities present enough challenges, finances need not be one of them." So it could simply be a question of, how do you plan for a child's education when it's not sure if they will be able to go to school? So I think, it, in terms of advocating on behalf of people with disabilities, there's also addressing the financial planning side of making sure that the child will have the resources that they can do whatever possible with their life.
Okay, that's great. When's your next show?
I'm actually doing a Western tour next Thursday night. Western tour being a show in Vaudreuil. Um,
Wow, that's real west.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's all relative, right? So I mean, we're downtown. Vaudreuil is west of here. And then the tour part is, once I finish, it's actually a networking group that is launching a new chapter. It's a networking group called SPCI. They'll be launching a new chapter in Vaudreuil at, I believe, a greenhouse in Vaudreuil. I'm not entirely sure what it's called. But if anyone wants to know, you can email me at michael@sureican.info, and I can get you the details of that. So I'll be performing at that event. And then the tour part comes in on my way back to home to Coast St. Luc. I'll be stopping in St. Anne de Bellevue, again, west of here. So it is a Western tour. And the St. Anne de Bellevue, there's a weekly comedy show called Boardwalk Comedy that I'll be doing a set there. It's at the Phoenix. It's at a bar called Phoenix on the boardwalk, I guess, right at the end. I'm forgetting the name of the street, but again, email me. I'll be happy to give you details. And that's at 9 o'clock. So I'll be performing there as well. I will be doing a show June 24th at Kajibi's called Tailspin. And on June 30th, I will actually be at the Yuck Yucks in Ottawa.
Wow, that's great. How can people get more info about your act?
Well, there is the email, michael@sureican.info, and then I can add them to my email distribution list. Or I do have a group on Facebook called Michael Lifshitz Cripplingly Funny. And I post information about all my shows on there.
That's great. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks a lot.